Hello everyone, nice to meet you again. This lesson we are going to talk about recount text, what it is and how to make it. And I'd like to tell you that this lesson is special because in this lesson I'd like to use English most of the time because I believe that your English at the moment is improved. But if you still find difficulties in understanding my explanation, you can see the subtitles. Let's get started. Yusuf went to Marina Circuit in the morning to join the car race. He arrived at 7 and directly checked up his engine. The race started at 8. At first, he led the race, but it wasn't long because suddenly another car hit his car from behind. He lost the race and his car was broken. He was very disappointed. Yes, this is one of the examples of a recount text. Read yourself once more, okay? The recount text has some purposes. We are going to talk. The first one is that to tell the past events. So among the purposes of a recount text, one of them is to tell the past events. Like when you want to tell others about your last vacation, or you want to tell others about your last visit in your relative, or you want to say or to tell about an embarrassing situation you experienced, or a happy moment, or an unforgettable moment. The next one is to tell a factual events. The example is that when you report an incident or an accident to a police, so you will use the recount text and all you say are facts about the events. Sometimes a recount text contains a biography of an important person like inventor, a hero, or a heroine. So this kind of recount text has purpose to make other people or to make the readers learn something from the struggle of the person. So again, I repeat that this kind of recount, the recount which expose an important person, how they achieve their goal, what has a person done to gain the success, has purpose to make the readers learn something from the person's struggle. Now, what about the characteristics of the recount text? So the first characteristic of a recount text is that the use of past tense. As you can see in the Yusuf story, that all verbs there and in a past form. This is the example. I spent my last vacation. You see here T, it indicates that the verb spend is in the past form. Okay, I spent my last vacation in Madiun. The next one, the use of action verbs. Action verbs, when we talk about action verbs, so the audience or the listeners know that the subject of the verbs do something, all right? And visually the audience can see, like run, and the past form of run is ran, and then go. So you can see people run, right? You can see people go. You can see people bring or browse here because it is in the past form. and then you can see people take something. That's what we call as action verbs. So most verbs used in the context are in the form of action verbs. Not all of them, but most of them. Okay. And then the next one is that the use of adverbs and adverbial phrase. Those one reveals the time, place, and how somebody does something or how somebody did something. The example is last week, it reveals the time, and in Surabaya, it reveals the place, and recently, meaning just now, baru-baru ini begitu ya, baru-baru ini, recently, and probably we can add slowly, like to tell how a person does something slowly, quickly, like that. And then the use of conjunction, yeah, and time connectives. Okay, because recount text has a sequence of events or sequence of what happens, so it will need conjunction and time connectives such as and, or, next, after that, then, etc. And then now the structure. The structure here, it has nothing to do with grammar, because the structure here means struktur or susunan. The structure of a recount text. So a recount text will start with an orientation. In the orientation, the writer or the speaker provides the setting and introduces the participants. And in the events, after that, after the orientation is events, the writer or the speaker tells what happened and in what sequence. And then a recount text will end with the reorientation. It closes the whole story. Let's have a look at the use of story once more. Here orientation, as we have discussed before, it provides the setting and introduces the participant. Okay guys, can you take a look at the story once more and identify which one is the orientation? Oh, very good. It is here, right? It is at the beginning of the story. So at the beginning of the story, the writer introduces the participant. Here is Yusuf, and then the setting place, right? The setting of the place is Marina Circuit, and the setting of the time is in the morning. And then the next one is the events. Oh, the event is the sequence of the occurrence. Okay. And then here, where can you find it, guys? Take a look, please. Right. So here, right. So here, the writer introduces what happened to Yusuf. He arrived at 7, and then what he did after that, and then how the incident happened to him. And the last, of course, the reorientation. Here, the writer closes the story. And can you find out which part in the story is? Good, it is here. So he was very disappointed. Closes the whole story of Yusuf. Well, as you have learned a lot of things about recount text, I think it is the time for you to start trying to write or to use the recount text in your speaking. But before that, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks of how to create a recount text. The first tips and trick is write what comes first. What is that? Okay. most of the time we are stuck with the idea. This is especially in writing. And to overcome the problem, my suggestion is that you write everything comes in your mind first. You write it, and sometimes probably you stuck because you do not know the English term or do not know the past form of a certain verb. Here is the example. It happened to me last night. I go to a market near my house. I just write it down, and then a man mendekati me. I never saw him before. Like that. And then after you finish your story, you can revise it, and it become like this. It happened to me last night. I went. Instead of go, you change it into went because you have found it in your dictionary, for example, or suddenly you remember it. And then a man mendekati, and then you know the English word of mendekati is approach. You ask your brother or your sister. That's one of the tips and tricks. The second tips and tricks, use the sketches. Sometimes we also stuck in telling or in writing the recount text because we miss some of the details, or we do not know what's next, or we forgot the incident. So to help you remember the incident or the details of the incident, you can use these sketches. Take a look at these short films.